Ready. Play.
Cool. I'm here in Porto with podcast extraordinaire, tweet or ex extraordinaire too, and now certainly the last couple of weeks a doubles coach, elevation to extraordinaire level as well. Calvin, first of all, I'd like to know, what are you doing here in Porto?
I mean, I'll say first of all, I consider myself a coach more than a podcast host.
Okay, sorry, I put the podcast first.
Yeah.
I wanted to build it up.
Yeah. I'm in Porto with Luke Johnson, who I coach along with Henry Patten.
Yeah.
Coach the two of them. So Henry's in Washington at the minute. Luke is here in Porto playing a challenger.
Do you split your time 50-50 between those two?
Yeah, I mean, I try to. I don't know whether it ends up being 50-50, but there's never been any issues. They ask me when they tell me the weeks that they want me, and they're pretty good mates as well. So I guess that a lot of the stuff they sort out between themselves, and then a lot of the weeks now they're at the same tournaments. So I'm here for a week. I've obviously just done the 2 weeks. Well, I've done a few weeks with Henry and Luke. Luke was at Wimbledon as well, obviously, and then did the 2 weeks with Henry there. Then I had a week off, been to County Week, was captain of the Yorkshire team, and then I'm here for a week with Luke, and then I'll fly to Montreal with Henry, do Cincinnati with Henry, and then I'll do Winston-Salem. Definitely, well, if Luke gets in, I'll do it with Luke. If Henry decides to play it, I'll do it with both of them, and then we're at US Open with the both of them. So yeah, over that period, I guess you'd say it's 50-50.
It's been quite a few weeks for you. Let's begin with obviously the extraordinary win that Henry Patten and Heliovaara had at Wimbledon in that doubles final. I mean, the doubles final itself, if we just hone in on that for a second, was a ridiculous encounter, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'd heard numerous people saying it was the best doubles final ever at Wimbledon, and I don't know them all, but I'd just be surprised if there was a better one, just in terms of quality.
How was your heart rate?
I mean, I was pretty fine, to be honest. Like the box was full, and we had all Henry's friends and family were in there, and then there was Louis Caillet next to me, who's head of doubles in Britain. There was Harry's physio, Harry's coach in there. And I think everybody was getting very excited, and I made it a point myself once it got to that stage that I wanted to make sure I was calm and sort of pretty composed, because I thought that they're going to start looking up here quite a bit, and I know that I never want to be the kind of coach who looks like he's overstressing, and I don't have any problem with getting excited and getting fired up, particularly if the players are not getting that way, and I think they need a bit more in that front. I'll do that, but during the final I actually was pretty calm. Yeah, I think so.
Did you have any vibes before the tournament began that this could be a pretty good period of the...
I mean, I thought that we got really unlucky with the French Open in that they'd won the tournament before the French in Lyon. I mean, they've had a phenomenal start to their partnership since April. And we won the tournament before the French in Lyon, and then we went into the French, and then they beat the fifth seeds, Gonzalez and Roger Vasselin. And then they actually beat Luke and Skander in the second round, and that was maybe the best that I'd seen them play overall.
What's your situation when they play each other?
I don't get involved during the match at all. I go and sit. Normally I'd sit in the coaching box, and when they play each other, it has happened a few times, I go and sit up in the corner and don't say anything to either of them, and just we're all agreed on that I will just not involve myself tactically. Before the match, I'll speak to them both about their own games and that kind of thing, but I don't give any tactical information on anything.
Sure.
So then they beat Luke and Skander, who were also in great form going into it, and that was actually probably the best that Henry and Harry had played. And then Harry, in the warm-up for the third round, where they were going to play Gielan Vliegen, who they'd beaten the week before in Lyon, Harry popped his shoulder in one of the most random injuries I've ever seen. Just 15 minutes into the pre-match warm-up, his shoulder popped, and he ended up getting it. He had a tear, like a 1.5 centimetre tear in his shoulder, so they couldn't play the match. They had to pull out before the match, which was kind of devastating for all of them. And so at that stage, I actually thought that I started thinking then we've got a real chance of winning the French Open here, because we've beaten the fifth seeds. We've already won, I think we'd won 3 tournaments on clay going into it, including the week before. And I was looking at thinking who's beating us here, or who's definitely beating us. I don't think we're unbeatable, but I was thinking who's definitely beating us. And there was nobody who I had in that front. So Then they had a couple of weeks off, and then Harry came back the week before Wimbledon in Eastbourne, and they won 2 matches. And without boring everybody, there was a terrible umpiring mistake that cost them the match that they lost in the semis. Basically, the umpire, we were setting a break up, and the umpire overruled a call on a sudden death juice point to give the break back. It was on a winner, and there was no Hawkeye challenge. But when we checked later with Hawkeye, it turned out the ball was 3 centimetres in, and it would have given us a set and 5-2 that point, and in the end it ended up coming back to 4-3 back on serve, and we lost the match at a tiebreak. So,
I love the way he still remembered this, even though it's been a pretty good couple of weeks since then.
Well, I actually did wonder whether it gave them an extra couple of days off before Wimbledon. So then, but then like Wimbledon came, and then they had a terrible draw. They got, in terms of the draws you can get, they got the Vavasori and Bolelli in the first round, who are number 1 in the race this year. In the quarters, they got Aravallo and Pavic, who just won the French Open. They were number 2 in the race. And Purcell Thompson, I think they were 7 in the race in the final. And they played Neil Skupski and Mike Venus, who just won at Queen's and Eastbourne in the semis. So when did I start getting inklings that we could win it? I mean, it's a strange one, because I keep saying to people it was unbelievable that they won it. But on each individual match, I thought they'd win.
Okay.
So, you know, it's like, again, not to be presumptive, and I don't think they'll win easy, but every single match I went in thinking we've got a real chance here. Mm-hmm. We've got a real chance of winning this.
So including the final, of course, against Thompson and Purcell, you had that conviction as well?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, like, Bolelli Vavasori are a serious pair, and we've gone up, like, since they started playing together in April, we've kind of gone up the levels. Right, can we win a tournament? Yes, we've done that. Right, can we beat a top 20 pair? Yes, we've done that now. Can we beat a top 10 pair? Yes, we've done that. Can we keep winning? Yes, we've done that. Can we beat a seed at a slam? Yes, we did that at the French. And then it's like, right, can we beat the best pairs in the world? And they did that twice in Wimbledon before the semis. So then you start thinking, yeah, we can do something here. So absolutely, yeah. But I equally know that all of those pairs are very good pairs. So it's one of those. I think the position I come from is that I think in order to win, we're going to have to play our best. But if we play our best, we will win.
Okay, I want to wrap this because I want to talk to you about a couple other things as well. But let's dive straight into the deciding set tie break. I mean, I know you said you tried to remain calm, but that must have been tough through that, no?
Yeah, there were so many ups and downs in it, and strange situations, and like there were quite a lot of mini breaks, considering that there weren't any breaks. Right,
exactly.
To serve.
Yeah.
I mean, what we did do, what we do before every match, I go through. We have a database of a load of data on various opponents, what they're going to do in key moments, and I did that extensively the night before the final. I always do it the night before and send it to the lads with the notes that we've got on scouting, and we kind of had some decent info on what we knew that Purcell and Thompson do individually and as a pair on big points.
Okay.
And those things happened on those points.
With that data, I think there's sort of 2 or 3 schools of thought. One is, of course, you want to give the players as much as you possibly can. One school of thought is try and make that as simple and as basic as you can, and obviously somewhere in between. I mean, what is your...
It's somewhere between... I mean, what I basically do, I have a load of data, so the lads don't look at it themselves. I do it, and then I try and find it I try and simplify it into maybe 5 or 6 points, 5 or 6 key things that they need to remember. Mm-hmm. So it's not like... What we've got away from is... I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but one of the things that we do is I'll try and go for... Like, whenever I'm scouting, I try and find things that opponents never do. Like, you know, like in this situation, he will never do this. Or, you know, that in this situation, they never hit this serve. And,
okay.
And the data kind of backs that up. So then you can't say what something is going to happen, but you can take something away. You know, so you think if X player is serving from I on the ad court on a big point in 25 matches, they've never served wide. You know it's unlikely that in a tie break,
sure,
they're going to serve wide in that instance.
I mean, I'll probably close on this as someone who's a huge football fan, soccer for those tuning in the other side of the pond. You know, penalties is something I'm kind of always been interested in, and that, you know, seeing what players will do on big. Van Nistelrooy, by the way, you knew a really important point, an important penalty, he would always take it in step and go that way. Whereas actually he would do, when we're 3-0 up, he'd go the other way because he wants, and in a tie break, you can't, or in big points, you're 15-40 down. That's when you go for your secure one. You know, you go to the Berrettini backhand, the Tsitsipas backhand or whatever, right?
No, and I think like it's interesting with penalties, isn't it? Because I mean, we're both Man United fans, and I remember I was in Moscow when we won the Champions League.
We'll have to talk about this later.
The penalty that Ronaldo took, he'd never taken that penalty before. He'd never done the stutter.
Not for United, but I thought he might. Anyway, but we'll talk about it later.
But it was like, you know, and I remember at the time thinking, what are you doing? Champions League final, why are you trying this thing that you've never done before? But no, I think it's, you know, and I think it's with players, they're sometimes subconscious. I don't think it's necessarily like conscious that, right, this is my go-to point. Right. I think it's subconsciously that they maybe don't know that they do certain things, and you know, and it's what we do before every match, and I've no doubt that some of the times the lads forget a load of it, but I know that in key points throughout Wimbledon, like we won a lot of points from those scouting reports that we had.
Well, big few weeks on the court, and I'm sure many more weeks and months to come. Of course, I have to talk to you about some of the off the court and on the social media side of things. I've just sort of had a quick recap of the Andy Roddick podcast, which he does alongside John Wertheim, and I know there's a producer that's involved as well. And I did just dip into the sort of 5 minutes of them reviewing the doubles final. I'm just going to take you through, excuse me for making this painful for you, but I'm going to take you through what they said so that way we don't get it wrong. So there's a point at which they come to the doubles and the doubles final. Wertheim highlights, you know, some of the issues that doubles is having, perhaps in terms of marketing, in terms of its success, particularly compared with the 80s and the 90s. Patten and Heliovaara's unbelievable win comes up, of course, after they beat Thompson and Purcell, and Wertheim says, you probably haven't heard of their names. And there's a good reason for that, obviously in reference to Henry and Harry. Roddick's reaction to this was to put his head in his hands for a pretty prolonged period of time. And maybe at that point, I didn't think much of it until the conversation developed, because Wertheim then says, maybe this doesn't reflect well on doubles. I can't even say it without laughing, John continues. Andy then responds with, that makes 2 Wimbledon champs, that feels nice. Maybe I went the wrong route, he says in reference to himself, obviously having exceptional results on singles, and I should have maybe not trained and just known my way around an airport, in reference to, I believe, a job that Harry once had at an airport. The producer then says to Andy, yeah, maybe you should take up doubles, and Andy says a hard pass on that. Andy then goes on to say, great story, but it doesn't change the macro issue on doubles, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, he then goes into some valid points, I think, about at least where doubles was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, with players ranked 10, 20, 30 in the world in singles who would be slightly better at doubles. Whereas, of course, now he's honing in on some of these players that are winning doubles that are obviously much lower ranked. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I took issue with, and I guess it's 3 or 4 different areas that I took issue with. I took issue, first of all, in that the story that he kept repeating is, I know is largely a false story. The narrative that they were trying to sell on the podcast, and which Andy Roddick kept coming back to, is that Henry was I forget the actual word he used, but data analyst.
Okay, yeah.
And Harry was an airport worker, and they'd walked out of day jobs into winning a Wimbledon title. Let me just give, if anyone who doesn't know, let me just give some context to that. 9 years ago, when Henry was at University of Asheville, North Carolina, when he was 19, he did 10 days working at Wimbledon for IBM, doing their stats, as many, many, many college tennis players and tennis players around the age of 18 do, to earn some money over the summer holidays. That is the entirety of his career as a data analyst or a stats collector or what. Mm-hmm. And that was 10 days, 9 years ago. Harry Heliovaara was ranked 192 in singles and had to retire from the game because of a chronic back issue for 6 years. When he was retired, when he couldn't play tennis, for a short period of time, because Harry loves flying, he went to work in an airport for a short period of time. Since then, Harry has come back to the game and been top 10 in the world and played World Tour finals doubles. The narrative that these are two guys who walked out of day jobs and won a Wimbledon title is absolute nonsense and not based in any kind of reality at all. And Andy Roddick, when he said on the podcast, then he kept coming back to me going, it's a nice story, why are you trying to deny it? Because it's not a real story. We could make that up about anything. For example, when I was 15, my dad used to own a car garage. When I was 15, I used to clean cars at his garage on a Saturday. That's like saying car valeter coaches team to win Wimbledon title.
Sure.
I'm 45 years old now. I cleaned cars for probably a year when I was 15.
I mean, I was a pot wash, so washing dishes at 28, and I became a journalist 10 years later.
Yeah,
but I mean,
it's just absolute nonsense that we're trying to go this. But to then tell the story, but to then use it as a stick to beat doubles with, that these guys can come out of a day job and win Wimbledon. It's just complete and utter nonsense. So I tried raising that point with Andy Roddick and John Wertheim to almost no success because they just kept changing. So Andy did. John was a bit more receptive in private messages.
it is difficult to have a nuanced conversation on social media, though. You would at least.
It is, yeah. The next issue that I took with it is that Andy Roddick kept coming back to this issue. And this is, I think, as I've thought about this more and more since the actual debate, that concerns me as a broader debate. This idea that he keeps going that tennis is, sport is a business and that doubles is propped up by men's singles, and tennis doubles isn't bringing any money in. Let's just get rid of the product. It's not worth anything. Now, I'm aware that sport in a way is a business. Of course it is. One of my best friends works in sports management. He makes a lot of money for sport. He makes a lot of money for himself through sport. I'm fully aware of that. And when people say it, that's fine. It concerns me that we have to now apparently see everything to do with sport through this prism of it has to make money. Did anybody ever fall in love with any sport because they thought, I'll tell you what, this sport makes loads of money for people that are already rich?
Sure.
And I don't get why. Yes, sport is a business. It doesn't have to be just a business. That's not what we have to do. So to go get rid of doubles, it doesn't make any money. That is just terrifying to think that. Because, for one, it's ridiculous to say it in a way because these are actual athletes with careers, with skills, who have jobs. You can't just get rid of people. Secondly, the Association of Tennis Professionals is called the Association of Tennis Professionals, not the Association of Singles Tennis Professionals. Doubles tennis players are tennis professionals. There's no question about that. Thirdly, I have an issue with when Andy Roddick himself and other tennis players, Riley Opelka being one, I think a few more have said it, have had this like that they're dismissive of doubles, no one cares. I don't think that, the more I've thought about it and the more I've spoken to people, they don't dislike doubles. They're perfectly fine with doubles being around. They have an issue with the people winning it. They think they have a right to decide who wins tennis tournaments. They look at it and they go, that player's rubbish. He shouldn't be allowed to be making money from my sport. That's not how sport works. If you don't think that they're good enough to win it, enter it yourself and win it.
It's also a bit unnecessary, isn't it? I mean, listen, I'm doing okay, luckily, in life, but it doesn't mean that I'm envious of somebody who's earning a tenth of what I'm earning, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if they're doing something very similar. But I also think on top of that, and I hope we're not echoing each other too much, it is possible for both to thrive.
It's 100%. And this idea about money again, tennis isn't struggling for money. Tennis is making a lot of money at the minute, and it's making a lot of money for the people in it, making absolute fortunes for it, tens of millions of pounds. The singles guys are making, every singles player in the top 30 in the world is a millionaire. Everybody in the top 15, 10 is a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
It's not like we're going, look, we've got to save money and we've got to cut some costs. The tournaments are making millions of pounds. Wimbledon I think Wimbledon will turn over a profit somewhere about £100 million. I think. One of the reasons they turn over such a profit is because they can sell grounds passes in the second week. And you know what? If you don't have a centre court or a court 1 or a court 2 ticket in the second week, you're only on a grounds pass. What are you watching?
Doubles or juniors. Yeah.
You're watching doubles. I watched Washington last night. Henry and Harry played Ben Shelton and Ivan Roddick in Washington. The stand was absolutely packed. The crowd were into it. They were chanting. They didn't want Henry and Harry to win. Absolutely packed. This idea that no one wants to watch doubles isn't based in any reality at all. When I go to the tournaments, if you go to tournaments where there's a tennis base,
Indian Wells.
I've been to Delray Beach. I've been to Lyon this year. I've been to Bucharest. Wimbledon's, obviously, I mean, you can say Wimbledon's a little bit different. Washington last night. I'm going to say in Winston-Salem in a few weeks. Tennis bases, people want to watch doubles. They will fill the stands to watch it. People will come back and go, oh yeah, but look at Miami, no one was there. Because no, Miami isn't near anywhere. Like the people who are coming to watch tennis in Miami, they're coming to watch the centre court and nothing else. And other places where I've been, I went to Marrakesh this year, the doubles final, there was no one watching the doubles final at all. But you know what? There was no one watching the singles final either, because no one cared about tennis in Marrakesh.
I've got a couple of things to finish on, pretty much related to some of the things you've just said. Is one of the things that we could try out, because there's something else that we're trying out right now in doubles, and we're going to come to that in a second, but is to maybe try and bring some singles players towards the top of the game and make doubles attractive to them, somehow making the calendar more appealing. I don't know, putting it at a different point, doing something with the calendar. When I say the calendar, I mean honing in on the Grand Slam and, moving doubles to a different part of the tournament. Or am I getting too obsessed, even in an Andy Roddick type way, of trying to attract the top 50 players over to doubles, or should we just ignore
the
that?
top singles players are not going to play again. Going back to when they used to
It's
play
never going to
before.
happen.
No,
Like
it's never gonna happen.
Navratilova and
Not with sports science as it is now, S&C coaches, and also the money available to singles tournaments. Okay. You're not going to risk it playing a doubles event in a slam or that kind of thing. It's not like before, somebody was saying to me at Wimbledon where we had a lot of these debates, like McEnroe used to play. But look at the money that McEnroe was making then. He made, I don't know what the actual amounts were, but it was certainly nowhere near comparatively to what it is now. He was making good money in the singles, but the doubles was also good money. It was a nice little earner for him as well. The singles guys, if you're with, look, Alcaraz won what for winning Wimbledon this year? It was about $3.5 million. Was it? The doubles winners got 300,000. Now 300,000
between them, or
no, each.
Okay.
That's a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if you just won 3.5 million,
yeah,
are you going to risk tiring your body out for an extra 300 grand?
No,
you're just not. And also,
and the 3.5 million, by the way, is just one element to winning Wimbledon. There'll be a million other spin-offs.
100%, yeah, 100%. And World Tour finals, all those other things that you're going to get in. That's just, it's never going to happen now. But there is a sport to be marketed. The problem is, there's zero marketing of doubles. Zero marketing. The players, I know that the doubles players have gone to the ATP and gone, look, can you put more doubles on your Instagram account? They got a no. Okay, that's fine. Will you allow us to create our own Instagram account for doubles, for the doubles tour? We will do it. We just want it to be part of the ATP brand. No, we're not going to do that. We want to control everything. Okay, will you create an Instagram doubles account for us? No, we don't have time to do that. Even while all the time acknowledging, John, that the posts that they get the most interaction from are the doubles ones. They get the most interaction from when they show the doubles rallies, all four players in it. They say they get more interaction on those than they do on any of the singles posts they do. We don't have, it has zero marketing at the minute. What the ATP put, I think, when the lads played in Lyon, they played the semi-finals. They put 1 point on from the Lyon semi-final. And in that match, there were maybe 7 unbelievable points, all of about 30 shots. The ATP put 1 doubles point on from that semi-final. It was a let serve. It was Maxi Gonzalez. Henry was in return position. Maxi Gonzalez served. The umpire called let, and Henry just returned it down the middle. That was it.
Sorry, that's fine.
That was it. That's all they showed. And how no one has gone. How he's gone into the ATP social media department and no one's gone, wait a minute, come on. You've got to show us something like that.
You've got to show us an actual point.
There's got to be an actual point here. But that's what it was. But no. And then, look, if you market it, if you give them things that the doubles players are suggesting, they've put numerous things forward. I know last night, Harry agreed to be mic'd up. He was mic'd up last night in the match.
I wanted to ask you about this miking up. How do you feel about that? Is it a gimmick? I mean, there's two trains of thought. Gimmick could be good for the game.
I'm open to it. For me, the real discussion, though, I don't think you have to mic the players up. For me,
how do they do the secret stuff, by the way? I mean, because that's part 50 or half the game is such secrecy, if you know what I mean, in a good way.
Well, you can't know because it's only for the TV audience.
Okay.
It's not boomed over the actual stadium, so it's only.
But still, that's something you'd probably want to dip into when you analyse some of the matches.
But this is where I'm going to. I'm not sure how much information. Like, I'm not sure really of.
Did it sound good? Because I didn't watch, by the way.
No. So what I was going to say was, I think the change of ends, where the doubles players are having a debate, a discussion. I think that could be interesting to people.
Okay.
Finding a bit about the characters, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. The between the points stuff, where, by the way, this is what I said to Henry last night, and Henry and Harry, we were chatting on WhatsApp. And I said, what's bizarre about this is they're telling you they want to mic you up between points because they want to hear the conversations, at the same time as they're saying, we need to have less time in between points. So you're trying to get down to 15 seconds and trying to hear information. All you're getting between points, listen, it's not that exciting. You're getting two players going up, okay, let's go regular wide stay. And that's all you're getting. That's it. And when they win it, you're getting come on, let's go.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much to be heard there. The interesting stuff, I think, is at the change of ends, where the players are going to talk more in depth about the matches.
Aren't they going to be they're going to be aware of the mics, though?
I think they would, but I don't think there's anything that's not necessarily. I don't think there's anything that's that they wouldn't want to know. It's like I think most of the players know what each player does, and and I think. I'm open to trying different things. It's one of the things I think that is worth looking at. I don't think it'll really make a whole lot of difference. I think the main key is market the sport, market the players. There's some characters out there. There really are characters out there, and I think my position is that Netflix missed a huge opportunity when they did their show, because I think in terms of I think if they wanted a show that would be interesting, I'd have gone for the doubles tour.
Or lower ranked players.
Yeah, or lower ranked players. The problem was when they went higher up, they had management and PR teams around them, and it was all censored, and they wouldn't let them say anything. The doubles guys are not going to have that. There's a natural drama in doubles. It's two people working.
I've written 3 words down basically since we started talking, and one of the key words I've written down was control. And it comes back to Netflix, it comes back when it comes to the ATP, WTA as well. They want control. And unfortunately, because of that, if those guys but I'd love to have a chat with some of the producers there, because they've been perhaps rightly criticised, but probably they found a lot of issues in dealing with these somewhat archaic organisations.
Well, I don't know whether you saw, we're going a bit off topic here. I don't know whether you saw Carlos Alcaraz's agent's comments when he won the French Open. He went to Ibiza for 4 days. Okay. And his agent came like some bizarre comments. He's like, yes, I'm terrified what's going to happen out there. He doesn't have me to stop him saying anything.
And the Netflix guys were with him during that 4 days?
He just said, so he said it.
Okay.
He was saying these things. He was like, I don't like it when he speaks to anybody who I haven't confirmed that he can speak to.
Sure.
I'm really concerned about the number of girls who are starting to chat to him. Mm-hmm. And then I saw that Alcaraz, they're doing a docuseries on Alcaraz. And I thought, that agent is no way he's going to allow anything interesting to happen in that, in that docuseries.
Yeah, right.
Like he's concerned about him getting messages on Instagram from girls. Like imagine there's no way Alcaraz is going to come out and be. They'll just completely mute it.
Yeah, they will.
And then I saw somebody had said to me, like after he won Wimbledon, a mate of mine had said, Alcaraz needs a bit of media management, needs a bit of media training. I was like,
no, the opposite.
No, like let them.
He's got some charisma that's coming through at the moment.
100%. He's got some charisma. Like let them. Everybody who has media training, has anybody ever
has their life sucked out of them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then and it's funny. It's funny in tennis, isn't it? Because my mate said to me, well, like Federer was media savvy and he was full of charisma, and I was like, what was he? I love Federer, but would you say he's charismatic? Or is he just really good at tennis and carries around a mystique around him because he was really good?
Somehow his sort of goofiness did still come through a little bit.
Yeah, but would you count him as, say, like,
But maybe if he arrived today, I mean, I know he's still quite recent. He only retired 2 or 3 years ago, or 2 years ago. But maybe we got him just in time. But perhaps if we'd have got him 20 years even before that, he'd have been even more interesting.
But I mean, I guess what I'm saying, though, John, is with that you won't get that level of you won't get media people trying to control doubles players like that. There's a natural drama. There's teams now I know who, some of the players naturally they're getting a bit frustrated. They haven't won as many matches as they want. They're going to start talking to other players, and partnerships are breaking up, and new partnerships are forming. It's interesting. These guys they've got lives outside of tennis as well. It's not just they're not just going around with 3 S&C coaches and 2 coaches. They have their own lives. They're interesting. If you want to market, there is a sport to be marketed there. Believe me. But the things that the players suggest to the ATP, they don't seem interested in doing. They're still focusing on this idea of we need to get more singles players in, which isn't working. They've done that. They keep saying we need to rules to get more singles players in. It's just not happening. It's not working. They won't play. When they do play, they withdraw straight away. They keep saying we need this narrative of finding out who wins if singles players play doubles players at doubles. I can tell you now, doubles players win about 87% of the time.
Okay.
Statistically, that's what happens, and it happens regularly at every tournament.
Yeah.
Like Indian Wells this year, I think a third of the draw was singles players. Monte Carlo, 40% of the draw was singles players. You can see what happens when they play each other. Doubles guys usually win. It's not. That's fine. It's a different skill set. It's only and the way I keep coming to it, and I know we're short of time here, so I'll finish.
Well, you're short of time.
No, I'm all right. The way the thing I think I link it to most is it's like cricket. It's like the different disciplines of cricket. I remember when 2020 came about. 2020 came about, and I was saying to Luke last night, because he's younger, he maybe doesn't remember when 2020 came about. The test players always saw the 2020 players as not really serious players. They thought they were like pinch hitters, they're just sloggers, they're not serious. And they only started getting interested in it when they found out the 2020 players could make the money. But it's different disciplines. Yeah, sure, the test players are technically the best players around. They're brilliant. But it's different disciplines of the sport. And that's all that doubles is. It's different skill sets. Singles guys, of course, if you speak strictly about singles, they're way better tennis players. But at doubles, they're not better doubles players. And we don't, sport isn't like that. You don't just decide, right, they're too good at this, we're getting rid of the sport.
I also, as a final point from my side, I even look at my YouTube channel or my podcast as well, and I see that there's certain episodes that do obviously very well and certain episodes that don't. But in a way, I hope that even if I get much bigger, that in a few years from now, I still do the little ones. I still do the nuanced ones, the ones with the players outside the top 200, for example. I hope I don't become an egomaniac and ignore those ones because. And maybe, by the way, maybe this episode, people might say, oh, this episode's being propped up by other episodes. I don't know, we might get 100 views, we might get 1,000, I don't know.
But it's like, look, I mean, I think we're both music fans. You look at how the music industry's gone. Like in the 70s, all the big record companies, look, Bob Dylan barely ever sold any albums, comparatively to anybody. But the record company went, we've got to keep him on, we've got to keep promoting him. Then around about 2005-ish, the record company decided anything that's not selling, we're getting rid of. And now there's basically no music industry to speak of.
Sure.
Because if you get rid of everything that doesn't make a fortune, it's pretty sterile, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything just becomes pretty sterile.
Football, of course, another one of our loves. They've tried to go down that route, but
Super League,
exactly.
This is what we're getting with tennis now. And I don't want anybody to fall for this, that doubles doesn't make money, so we'll get rid of it. Because when they've got rid of doubles, they'll come for something else. The next one they'll come for is, wait a minute, why are we doing these qualifying tournaments? Why are we doing challenges? They're eating money up. Once they've got rid of those, they'll be going, first rounds don't make much money, do they? First rounds don't. Like, why don't we just go straight into the last 16?
Yeah.
Why don't we get rid of women's? Women's doesn't make any money.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you've got the top 16 of the men's game, and that's all that's getting played.
Sure.
My final point, John, just
I've made all my points, so I'm done on points.
When Andy Roddick said about in his day, and I'll quote Tony Soprano when he said that remember when is the lowest form of conversation. But to be coming out with, in my day, the doubles players were better. Why was that better? I was saying to Luke last night, when there were some really good doubles players, like the Woodfords, Jonas Bjorkman,
sure.
Mark Woodford, like all those guys. There were some good doubles players in the 90s and early 2000s. The reason why they were good singles players and good doubles players is because doubles was pretty stale then. Everyone pretty much played regular, stay, and it was just whoever had good serves, good returns, first volleys would win. There was no real tactics about it. It's just evolved.
Got it.
It's evolved to a different game. The guys who were playing doubles then, to be going that the doubles
They
guys,
just took their singles game to the doubles court.
Yeah, they just took their singles game. There's certain skill sets that they had. They were usually the guys that didn't have huge serves, but they still served volleyed. Richie Renenberg, Mark Woodford, Todd Woodbridge, those kind of guys, good players. They just took their, like you say, they took their singles games to doubles courts, and they were pretty good at it. The game's evolved. To be going now, those guys were great doubles players. No, they weren't. They just won a lot because there were no doubles specialists around. Like the guys now, they wouldn't stand a chance against the guys now. I can say that with absolute certainty.
I think on that note, Calvin, I should let you go off and monitor some practice, and I'm going to end the recording now. Thanks, Calvin.
Cheers, mate.